coolest displays out here has got to belong to Ford. And the reason why is Ford has brought in an entire section of a real assembly line that they have mounted. They've worked together with Siemens, is my understanding, and they put together a section of assembly line which is very much like you would see if you were to go into a Ford factory. Jeff is standing by live right now over at Ford. And take us on a tour here, Jeff.
Hey, Stephen, that's right. We're here at the Ford display of the North American International Auto Show, and part of that display is the assembly line. Now, 100 years ago, Henry Ford developed and invented the assembly line, and of course it's used by everybody today, but we've got a couple of men here that are perfecting the assembly line each and every day. This is Raj Batra with Siemens, and we also have Kirk Goins with Comau. Kirk, thank you so much for being here. Raj as well.
Thank you.
So, Raj, let's begin with you and talk a little bit about what you do to make this an even better assembly line 100 years later.
Yeah, well, this is, what you're looking at here. Siemens is a supplier of all the virtual software and automation equipment for automakers around the world. So with our software technologies and automation and manufacturing technologies, we're present in 14 to 15 of the world automakers and over 80% of all the automotive factories worldwide. What's really interesting about this assembly line is that if you look at the early assembly lines, when Henry Ford first built these with a pencil and paper, it took over 5 years to build and perfect it just to see if it worked. And then modern assembly line dynamics set it up so that you built one vehicle every 12 hours, then you built one vehicle every 90 plus minutes. Today, modern assembly plants build 75 vehicles an hour or upwards of that. And Siemens technology is being used to really drive a lot of the innovation, the automation, the movement, the control, the virtualization of this line. So if you think about this, it's like an Xbox. You can virtually design and simulate this line before ever cutting a piece of steel.
And it's amazing because you go back when they first started the assembly line, it was just tying rope to the axle and having men pull it along the assembly line. This is, of course, all automated, and there's reasons for you to be involved in this other than technology. There's safety aspects too, right?
Right. So when you look at our control technology, we've invested over $1 billion in the past 5 years, worldwide usability testing and true innovation dollars in building the state-of-the-art automation controller that's running this particular line, which is called the S7-1500. So it's, let's say, the choreographer or the conductor of this entire symphony. Wow. So all the movement, the robot travel, the lifts are all done by this programmable controller, and you see that over here right behind you.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that somebody a lot smarter than me could come up with this sort of stuff, because as you can imagine, it's very, very advanced. Now, Kirk, tell me a little bit about how you and Raj have to work together and what you bring to the table with Comau when it comes to this assembly line.
Sure, Jeff. Well, Comau is a designer, manufacturer, and integrator of integrated assembly systems. So we take components, Siemens controls, Comau robots, we put them together to meet a customer's manufacturing needs. So to build a product with a certain cycle time, to make a certain number of units every day, every month for that client to produce and ship. And so we design, build, manufacture, and install this assembly line behind us. We collaborate with Siemens on the design using their software for virtualization, and we use their products in many instances where we control the line with their products along with our robots doing the physical welding and the assembly and the joining processes. Those are the robots you see behind you, and then the line that you see all around you is a real equipment that came from a customer's manufacturing line that we borrowed to put into this show.
Kirk, what I think is really interesting is just the efficiency. When Henry Ford developed the first assembly line, he was actually able to lower the price of the Model T from $850, this is back then, of course, in 1913, down to $300. Now, you might imagine that that is very efficient, the cost comes down, and wow, what a price reduction, and that continues today?
I would say it continues today. If you look at the assembly line and the efficiency that it brings to the equation, every automaker today uses an automated assembly line for any high volume production, and they wouldn't be competitive if they didn't. So it's really a technology that is maturing, but at the same time has new innovation that goes into it every year.
Yeah, I think we really have to address this because a lot of people are out there and they see that these robots are working and they think that they are replacing workers, but as I understand it, when it comes to something like this, you're always going to need people to develop this and to execute this, correct?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which one? Yeah.
Go ahead, Kirk. Why don't you take first?
It's absolutely a hot topic, right? You see all kinds of people that want to talk about losing jobs to automation, and the reality is by the time you take the people that design the automation, Siemens has a huge number of employees in the U.S., the people that design these systems, integrate, program, maintain, and install them, we're actually providing, in essence, an equivalent amount of labor, but providing it at a higher level. If you weren't doing that, you'd be hauling those 250-pound, 500-pound devices around all day long, which causes all kinds of problems in and of itself, right?
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I just want to remind everybody, if you come down to the auto show, come to the Ford exhibit, and you will see this moving, operating assembly line.